What is Shush and what was my involvement? Shush is a VR horror game where the player needs to traverse a house and solve puzzles to get keys to unlock the next rooms and escape the house when they have the last key. My involvement was being part of the VR team working on movement and interactions, which was an integral part of the game. My involvement with Shush started at the start with the creation of the project using the Unreal Engine 5 VR template, which would be Shush's foundation, to see what was included and what we might need to add. The template was very basic, however it was already set up with the ability to teleport and grab objects, which were a very good start for the features Shush needed, as well as a small test map to test the mentioned features in. However, this would eventually be swapped for the house level map when it was ready. The player is able to grab the boxes and weapon on the table and let go by holding and or letting go of the grip button on the VR controller. In the early stages we were using a HEC Vive which was buttons as grip instead of triggers, which sometimes caused an issue with letting go. The weapon had no use in Shush, so its functions were ignored early on. The grab feature was an integral mechanical Shush, so we made sure it worked at all times. The teleport function worked by using the right directional stick and pointing in a direction you wanted to teleport, which allowed the player to jump to a new position instantly, unless it was in a no teleport zone. Teleporting was one of the free movement systems we looked into in the early stages. From the very start of Shush, we considered three movement styles. Teleporting, which luckily the template already included, specific location teleporting, which could be used to start the puzzles, as well as free movement, which allowed for a more immersive traversal of the house level. As soon as we learned that the template included teleporting, we knew that we should try to implement one of the other movement styles. We chose to try and get free movement working due to it being the more popular and widely accepted method of VR traversal. The movement was quite simple to implement, we just had to use the axis values on the left controller directional stick and apply movement in a direction dependent if it was in the X or Y axis. We also had to convert the VR template blueprint point to a character. When we were using the HTC Vive, it wasn't an issue and worked perfectly fine. However, when we got access to the Oculus software and were able to use our own headsets, which were the Oculus/Meta Quest 2s, we encountered an issue where the play height was offset massively, making the game unplayable. This was all because of the character blueprint changing thing. We were unable to fix the issue in a good time, so we decided to abandon the idea at its time, maybe look into it again later. We also abandoned the idea of fixed teleports because we felt as if it wouldn't be fun to use in game. When we got access to the house level, we were able to implement it relatively easily. However, we didn't realise that teleporting was implemented by using navigational meshes, which we needed to be implemented into the house level. Getting the house model also allowed us to work with the interactables around the house, so we were able to implement grabbing them by adding a grab component from the template. The house is laid out in two floors, however, they're not on top of each other, they are next to each other. So we were meant to implement a system where the player walks into the stairs and they get teleported to the other area. However, because because we got rid of the free movement, the teleporting movement wasn't able to trigger the teleporting. So we weren't able to implement it fully at the time. In the current version of SHUSH, the player is able to put their hand through a wall and teleport through it. This could be resolved by making the hands have collisions so they can't go through the wall. Because of how the house level has been laid out, traversal between both floors has become a needless hassle. It would have been better to have them be seamlessly connected like an actual house.